Registration for the 2023 AFCA convention is now open. Join us as AFCA returns to the Queen City. Mark your calendars for January 8th through the 10th, 2023 in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you are attending the convention, dues, fees, and ticket requests not received by December 10th will be processed on-site at a higher convention fee and ticket price. For more information, visit afca.com.
This week on Inside the Headset, we are featuring Northwestern State's safeties coach and recruiting coordinator, Josh Jones. Coach Jones talks about chasing knowledge of the game, shares his experience recruiting in the heart of high school football, and discusses what it's like being a member of the AFCA's 35 Under 35 Institute. Now, let's get inside the headset with Coach Jones.
Coach, what's going on, man? How are you?
Man, I'm good, Mario. How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm doing well. Super appreciative of you taking the time to chat with us, man. I know you've rocking and rolling, and that's just the life of a ball coach, huh?
Ain't no doubt, man. Ain't no doubt. I'm excited, man. I am. I'm really excited to do it.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, I definitely got to start off here. A lot of times we go through the lineage of a coach and just, his background and things like that. But I do want to start a little bit before you actually start coaching. You're All-American as a player at two separate schools, Minnesota State, Moorhead, and Hardin University, which I thought that was super unique, especially I'm assuming this is – not even assuming, I know for a fact this is before the transfer thing it was so popular. Now I'm a college transfer too. I played at two different spots, so I do know that definitely existed before the popularity of it now. But just talk to us a little bit about those accolades, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals, man. I love to play the game. At the end of the day, everybody's got goals, you got aspirations. You want to be this, you want to be that. I want to be all conference. To be honest with you, Mario, man. And I tell my guys this all the time because I know they got those aspirations. I wasn't thinking nothing about that stuff, to be honest with you. I was just playing ball. Yeah. I played D2 ball. I was happy to play, happy to have an opportunity to play in college, and took advantage of it at the end of the day. But just, being able to be honored that way, be recognized and do it at two different places, like you said, it's just pretty unique, and it was one of those deals again. Even after that first one, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go be an All-American again. I'm going to play ball, and if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, congratulations on that feat. I know that probably gets talked about less and less the older we get, but I did see that. Right. I thought that was interesting to kind of talk about. Now, you had the opportunity to sit in on 35 under 35. I believe it was this past year. If it wasn't the year before that, I think you were in the class before that, but got to sit in it this year. And we've kind of, one of our marquee speakers for that has been James Franklin. And typically in the GA form, he says, I don't know if he said this in 35 and 35, but he used to always say the biggest piece of advice he had for young coaches was to stay broke as long as you can. And everybody kind of like, what do you mean? I'm trying to make that good money. And he kind of breaks it down, and he's like, when you're not focused on the next job, you're able to go get all this different experience. It's easier for you to say yes to a job because you're not worried about the money at that point in time. And kind of a picture book story of that deal is, you began your coaching career by being a GA at three different spots. Just talk to us a little bit about why and how that was beneficial for you. Right.
So I started out at Arkansas Tech. 2013, and really and truly, I really didn't want to be a coach. That wasn't in my goals. That wasn't something that I thought about. I knew I wanted to always be around the game. That was if the NFL, next level didn't work out, I wanted to be around the game. And actually, what happened was I started coaching at my high school. When I got done, I was playing arena football. That's the spring, summer season. So in the fall, I'm back at home in California. So do something, make a little money. I coach in my high school, and I fell in love with it. And I did that for 2 years while I was playing arena ball, and got a phone call from the defensive coordinator at Arkansas Tech, Scott Simons. He gave me my first opportunity. He called me, wanted me to come GA. It was an opportunity. I hurt myself that last season, and said, I'm going to go ahead. It might be time to hang it up and move on to the next step. So I took that job at Arkansas Tech. I was there in 2013, went through the season. went through the spring. Some things happened, some things shaked up, and the unique thing about being a GA at a Division II school, and I encourage it for a lot of people, is you have so many more responsibilities. You're going to coach a position. You're going to do all the GA work. You're going to run your own room a lot of times. Like, I got invaluable experience my first year coaching college football, right, that you don't get at the Division I level a lot of times. And then, like I said, some things shook up. There were some opportunities that I felt like maybe I was in a position where maybe I should have been hired, and guys on the staff were even pushing for me to be hired, and I didn't. One of my former coaches at my first school, Minnesota State Moorhead, he was the defensive coordinator at Missouri Western. He called me and, he said, I want you to come work for me. And I felt like, maybe my time is up here. Maybe it's time to go, create new contacts, a new network. So I went ahead, took that job, went through 2014 season with them, and then got another phone call from a guy that Troy University had a defensive GA opening. Ended up getting on the phone with John Summerall there, where he was the linebackers coach, and Coach Vic was the DC. And they brought me in 2015, and I went through that spring and summer with them. But again, just building those different networks and just feeling like, obviously now having done 2 Division II schools and coached my own position and ran my own room, I've got that experience. I've recruited. I've done all that stuff. Now I can go be a Division I GA and kind of be more in the background, And Coach Vic allowed me that spring to do some work with the overhang, what he called the spear, where I would take him sometimes. But it was just a little different from that aspect. But it gave me those networks, to be able to maneuver a little bit. And I still talk to a lot of those guys today.
That's awesome. I'm happy I identified the not just the experience, and I'm happy for 2 things. Number one, this came up on the podcast a few times, and I always tell the same story. So if you listen to the podcast all the time, sorry, but I spent some time. My first collegiate job was a Division II GA, and hands down, man, when some of the young guys hit me up and they're asking for advice, and man, I got University of Texas and I got Texas A&M Commerce. Take the Commerce one, because you're going to recruit, you're going to run a room, you're going to GA, you're going to line the fields, you're going to do the laundry, you're going to do everything, man, and you get so much more perspective where you're going to still have your fair share of work at the University of Texas deal, but on the flip side of it, you won't have some of the hands-on experiences that are going to be valuable, whenever you start getting your own room. So that I love that you identified that. But the other part was you highlighted the networks. That's just such an invaluable thing at an early age. I think a lot of us forget about. We want to get around a group of guys and they become our dudes and we hang out, and we just want to stick around them. But creating those new silos is such a huge deal. Now, as you've transitioned there to Northwestern State, I know you've had a ton of stops between those GA years and where you are now. But you and the corners coach, Coach Lockett over there, y'all appear to have a really, really good relationship, man, which is super important. A lot of people kind of, honestly, I've been doing this podcast for a long time, and I don't know if I've ever really talked about that relationship dynamic between some of those position groups that really have to work in tandem with each other, but they have 2 separate coaches. Talk to us a little bit about how you guys are able to make that back end work and work together and be in sync and have great synergy.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I've been in this conference before at Central Arkansas. Obviously I coached against Coach Locke, and then when we got to South Alabama, I was recruiting Louisiana and ran into Coach Locke a few different times. So we've known each other for a little while, and always had tremendous respect for one another. So, when I got this job and me and him got to talking about things, the biggest thing is we work together on everything. And we may not necessarily always agree, but we'll always have conversations on stuff. Maybe let's do this way. How do you feel about this? I don't really like that. Maybe we can try it this way. And it's not combative. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's more, we got the same goal. We got the same aspirations for this season, what we want to do and how we want our guys to play. It works well. It's smooth, and then it helps having a great off the field relationship. Yeah. You come in the building and that same energy is translated into when we get on the practice field or we in the meetings or whatever it is. We work together. If there's something we're doing schematically, how you feel about doing some half scaly stuff, get the corner and safety out there, push some stuff, and it's easy. He's like, yeah, let's do it, So it makes it a lot easier, and it's so much easier when you got somebody next to you that you can count on for sure.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That's probably one of the most slept on parts about the profession is just being able to build that rapport with not just somebody you got to work like that, corner safeties or inside outside receivers, stuff like that, but just your staff in general, just being building great relationship, because you spend so much time with those guys, and when there's tensions and all that other kind of stuff, man, it just makes for not a very fun job or experience. Now, talked a little bit about your playing ability, right? Been able to go pick the ball off and all that kind of stuff, but you've been able to put that into your players quite a bit. Everywhere you went, your guys make plays, and it's not by accident. I find it that your guys are able to have success. You highlighted the season with 29 interceptions in 2015 when you were where were you at that time? Henderson State. So how much of an emphasis do you put on that part of the game? I know every coach wants the turnovers and all that kind of stuff, but to see it coming to fruition, clearly there's something that you're pushing, motivating. How do you get that out of your players?
It's constant. I get on their butts about it, man. It's I've always hated the stigma that you play DB because you couldn't catch. I've always hated that. You know what I'm saying? I'm a firm believer that ain't true. Right. I play DB because that's just where I fit better. But constant ball drills, man. Every opportunity we can to catch balls, and then overemphasizing that in team settings and practice. Overemphasizing that in competition settings. Like I don't want PBUs, and I tell my guys all the time, PBUs get you all conference, interceptions get you all American. But which one you want to be? And just constantly when we're watching film, like, yo, this is an opportunity. You bat this ball down. This ought to be a pick. We ought to be getting the offensive ball back. And just creating that competition in the room too. The guys that's getting the ball back for the offense, they're gonna be the ones that's gonna play. Yeah. Just overemphasizing that, man, and really challenging them to take that next step. Don't be complacent with a PBU.
Right. Now you look at your playing career. Obviously, you played in the secondary. Your job history been in the secondary, and so a lot of times it's easy to I want to say this right. Feel like you know everything, and I'm not beating you up by saying that. But just as a young coach, how do you continue to develop? You probably do know a ton. You probably do know a lot. But where do you go to get better? Where's your places that you tend to go to get better?
Man, I'm always trying to reach out to guys, whether it be on technique stuff, whether it be on scheme stuff, because I know. And I talk to my guys about this because, we know how it is with players. They kind of think they know everything. And
that's right.
Truly, you don't. You don't. There's always room for growth. There's always room for learning. No matter how great a rep is, it can always be a little bit better. And I take that into coaching the same way. I've had some success with guys. I've had a bunch of guys that have been successful and gotten a lot of accolades and whatnot, but there are so many ways that I can be better. So year to year, especially in the off season, I start looking at, different techniques. What's better? Maybe this worked for us last year, but maybe there's something I could do a little bit differently. So just trying to reach out to guys in the industry that I know, that I trust, that I believe in, that I know do great things. Of, how are you doing this? How are you teaching this? Because I know I have my setbacks on things. Mm-hmm. There's things that I don't teach well.
Yeah.
And so constantly trying to work on that stuff for sure.
Oh man, yeah, you're saying some good nuggets, man. I actually love that you said that on the podcast. That there's stuff that you don't teach well. Now I'm sure you probably still teach it a lot better than what you're saying, but there's definitely stuff that in your game as a coach. I remember I coached receivers for a long time, and then coaches would hit me up and say, "Man, what are you teaching them on when the DB's playing catch?" I'm like, man, I don't know. If when you find out, let me know, because I'm not very good at that. I hadn't cracked the code on that yet. And I was always self-aware. And so it's super important to be self-aware and be honest with yourself. So, how are you able to identify, maybe some of the stuff that you feel like, man, you know what, hey, this is something I got to get better at this off season. At what point do you kind of feel that?
Man, one of the biggest things that I do every single game If I've got an opportunity, pregame when everybody's out warming up and everything, I watch the other coaches' DBs. I watch how they move around, and I'm constantly looking. I'm like, man, they look smooth. Man, he getting out of that, in and out of that break, and looking at the totality of it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's just one person, but seeing, that whole group is moving a certain way.
Yeah.
What is he teaching over there?
Right.
How is he getting them to move that way? What is he emphasizing? What's his key points? And then also when I'm watching film, I'm watching film to game plan week to week, but I'm also looking at every now and then I'll try and peek at a DB and say, they DBs look good, you know what I'm saying? Great pad level, getting in and out of their breaks, I need to probably talk to this guy and see what he's doing,
Absolutely.
I've just been self-aware of those things.
Now, I kind of transition a little bit, from the DB role there. You also are over the recruiting efforts for Northwestern State. And this is your first time being a recruiting coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, right? Well, what are kind of some of the things that maybe you weren't prepared for as you walked into this role? I know you coach at pretty much a lot of different levels, been at the FCS level before, FBS level before. What was some of the uniqueness of coaching in the heart of high school football? Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, Georgia, the deep South. What were some of the learning curves you had?
Right. Well, the biggest thing, didn't realize how much work it is, man.
Yeah.
I really didn't, and it's really the legwork of everything.
Right.
Being the actual recruiting coordinator and divvying out recruiting areas to guys and making sure that, we're on top of kids and, making sure we're calling kids and whatever we need to do to make sure we're putting our best foot forward in recruiting. That's the easy part.
Mm-hmm.
Really it's at this level, like you said, I've been at D2 all the way up to FBS. When you don't have the same amount of help, so to speak, there's a lot more that you have to do. So, official visit, for instance, I got to call hotels. I got to make sure we got hotels set up. I got to make sure we got food set up. I got to make sure we got campus tours set up. Things like that you go to a bigger school as the recruit coordinator, so to speak, you ain't got to worry about that. You got personnel people that handle all that stuff and get it set up. So that's probably been the biggest challenge, I guess, is trying to orchestrate all of that while still being involved in the actual recruitment of kids. I remember our first official visit, I was ripping and running. I'm at dinner. I couldn't even sit down and eat my meal at dinner because I'm running to make sure everybody else is good. You know what I'm saying? So that's probably been the biggest challenge for me. But I love it, man. And, I was thinking about this actually a few days ago. Coach Laird is great. He'll randomly send a text saying, I appreciate all the work you're doing and everything. But if a head coach gives you responsibility, as a title like a recruiting coordinator, it's because he trusts you.
Yeah,
and so the fact that he put that on me, I appreciate him for giving me the opportunity to do it.
No doubt, man. That role is the lifeline of the program. Being able to recruit and those kids just show up on campus having a great experience. Making sure you staying on top of kids. Getting into the camp season, summer camp season, things like that. Making sure you're identifying all those kids, getting all that data, and bringing it back. Man, it's I served as recruiting coordinator for 1 year, and you're right, it was overwhelming. But once again, doing it at Northwestern State, there's probably strikes a little bit of a comparison into the GA role we were talking about earlier, where you do have to do so much that if you get the luxury to be at a P5 one day and be the recruiting coordinator there, and you're a little bit less hands off, a little bit more hands off, but you can structure things you want to because you do have that experience. And you can appreciate what all those people are doing 100%. For you. Yeah.
100%.
Well, I made a little mention of it earlier. You're part of the AFCA 35 and 35 classes this previous year, and can you talk a little bit about what that meant to you, what you took away from it? Just anything about that whole process.
Yeah, man. That's a huge honor. There's a ton of great coaches. Obviously, 132 FBS teams, whatever it is, and you take FCS and D2. There's coaches all over the place, man. So the fact that I was able to be a part of that is humbling. Number one, just being a part of that, being around those great coaches, those young coaches that you've seen be successful in different places from the top to the bottom of it. And then just sitting in that room with those guys, sitting in that room and seeing some of the guys that come before me, that have been in the 35 under 35, and then obviously like James Franklin came and spoke, and I don't think I've ever been so locked in on someone speaking, in front of a room. He dropped some gems in there, man, that really, really and truly will open your eyes to some things.
Yeah.
Just how much being a head coach, how much more responsibility, especially at that level, how much it is, and really, really taking, do you want to be a head coach? That was the biggest thing that came from that talk he gave was, really and truly thinking about, do you want to be a head coach? Because there's so much more responsibility that goes into it than you think.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that he was so real.
Yeah.
Tell he was real, he was genuine. And that's why I was so locked in, because like this man is real, and he ain't sugarcoating nothing for you.
No.
But and also listen to some of those guys. Nate Brown is one of my closest friends in the industry. I've known Nate since my first year coaching. He was at Millsaps. I was at GA at Arkansas Tech. Met at Memphis at the camp. And so I've known him since I started this, man. And we always talk, and just how he's grown in the profession, and seeing all the places he's been, and how he's gotten to the point he is. Just what it takes to get there, what it takes to be in that position.
Absolutely, man. Well, Nate did. Side story: me and Nate, I GA for a semester with him, and when he was a GA. So me and Nate go way back, man. He's a tremendous friend, just authentic dude, great guy, man. So Nate's my guy. But yeah, we were just talking about recruiting, and obviously, as I've stepped away from the game and coaching, I'm in this role. But this recruiting, this 35 on 35, like, this is my baby, right? This is my recruiting opportunity, man. So it's always a blessing for me to put the class together. And just watch everybody grow, watch everybody, take new jobs, better jobs, different jobs, and just grow and continue to represent that program well. And I do appreciate everything you've done to represent the program well thus far, man. And definitely looking forward to you doing a lot more with us here over the next few years, and watching your career grow and blossom as you continue to move forward, man. But thanks so much for your time, Coach. I know how hard it is to find 20, 30 minutes to sit down and talk, and so I do appreciate you making it for us, man.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you having me, Mario.
Before I let you go, though, can you real quick just give us your Twitter account handle, and we'll make sure to share that so guys can keep up with your career progress and ask you questions if they got any.
Yeah, my Twitter is at Coach_Jones NSU.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, we'll make sure to link that down for you, man. And once again, I appreciate you, and best of luck this season, and look forward to seeing you in Charlotte in 23, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, bro.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset. If you heard anything on this episode that you would like to learn more information about, head over to AFCApodcast.com, where you can find every episode and all of the corresponding show notes. While you're there, take a second to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, please let us know by sending an email to podcast@afca.com. Make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at Inside the Headset and tag it when you share each episode. You can stay up to date with all things AFCA by following the @WeAreAFCA Twitter account. Every episode of Inside the Headset can also be found on your favorite audio streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you are not currently a member of the AFCA, be sure to find us online at AFCA.com and apply to join over 10,000 NFL, college, and high school coaches from around the country who are striving to be the best they can be. With an AFCA membership, you gain invaluable access to the annual AFCA convention, the bi-monthly magazine, and the new and improved digital library, which contains thousands of videos and articles contributed by hundreds of current and former football coaches. You can also visit AFCAinsider.com to sign up for our free weekly email newsletter on the right-hand side of the screen. It comes out every Tuesday at lunch and is filled with great articles and stories written by many of the same coaches you hear on the podcast. It's geared to help you become a better coach tomorrow than you are today. Be sure to connect with me on Twitter at Coach Mario Price, and remember, the AFCA is not just an annual convention. It is an association that continually promotes education, guidance, and networking. But it is also so much more than that. The AFCA is about celebrating the past and educating the future. It is about developing great coaches who will produce great teams and even better people. So invest in your skill set and impact today by engaging with the AFCA.